you're 6 months away from completely changing your life. And I'm kind of talking to myself.
Why do I do what I do? Future Kaitlyn is counting on me. Really, truly thinking about that is so important because you're like one or two habits away from changing everything.
Think of the version of you 6 months from now that's just looking at you like, please keep fighting one more day, keep working one more day.
A lot of people think, well, what if it doesn't work out? What if I fail? Well, what if it does? Like, what if it does work out?
And just because you failed one time doesn't mean you're a failure. You pick it back up the next day and you keep working, because 6 months from now, what comes next could be marvelous.
If there was one thing the world was asking for, it was for one more podcast about CrossFit. Well, here we are anyways. This is the Silverback Media podcast, where we share the stories of the everyday CrossFitter so that more people are encouraged and empowered to try it themselves. Here's your host and everyday CrossFitter, Marco Mejia.
What is happening, Silverback Media crew? Welcome back to the Silverback Media podcast, the podcast for you, the everyday CrossFitter, where we're on a mission to make the world a better place by getting more people involved in CrossFit. My name is Marco Mejia. I'm your host here on the show. I'm a CrossFit Level 2 trainer in Phoenix, Arizona at CrossFit North Scottsdale. And this episode is actually going to be a rebroadcast from another podcast that I was on. So I was on the Powerhouse Mentality podcast hosted by Kaitlyn Kenna, which, if that name sounds familiar, it should, because she was a guest on here on episode 23 of the Silverback Media podcast. Definitely encourage you to go check that out to hear her story. After that one, I went on her podcast to share my story, and then we wanted to keep that conversation going around a series that we're going to call a Coach's Corner type of series. So this first episode, or what you're about to hear, is going to be the interview that I went on her podcast to do, that was released on the Powerhouse Mentality podcast right after the new year. And really the whole conversation centers around how to make 2026 the year that you finally make the change, the year that all the changes and all the goals that you've been working towards, how to really make them stick from a mindset perspective to just a daily habit and tactical perspective, how to work through the ups and downs that's going to come with the journey, all the things that you need to help really make this the year that you make that significant progress towards your goal. Now, if you've already listened to that episode on Kaitlyn's podcast, on the Powerhouse Mentality podcast when it first came out, I'm still going to encourage you to listen again. And I'm going to give you a quote from old Stoic philosophy, right? Because you could listen to me, but whatever. Let's listen to the old people. And it's from Heraclitus. It says, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it is not the same river, and he is not the same man." So I'm going to encourage you to listen again. You're going to pick up some different nuggets than the first time you listened to it. If this is your first time listening to it, get your notepad out, get a pen and paper, write some stuff down, because you're not going to want to miss this one. Now, before we get to that, make sure, let's do all the things for the robots. So if you're following, or if you're watching or listening on Apple or Spotify, make sure you're following, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. If you're watching me on YouTube, hello. Make sure you're following there. Better yet, you know what? I asked you to do it anyways. Do it across all three. But I'm also going to ask you to go follow Kaitlyn's podcast, the Powerhouse Mentality podcast. Go follow her on Instagram at Kaitlyn Kenna Fitness. And then we're going to keep these episodes going probably once a month. So if you have suggestions or topics, make sure you're following us. So that way you can get those into the fold whenever we're asking or looking for more topics in the future to discuss. So without further ado, let's go listen to this conversation with Kaitlyn.
All right, Marcus, welcome back to the podcast.
What's up, everybody? Kaitlyn, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I mean, like, Happy New Year, because the day we're recording this, it is day one of 2026, which we were just talking about is on a Thursday for you guys who are waiting until January 5th, the Monday after, to do your shit.
Yeah, exactly. All the diet starts Monday people. Well, it's like, hey, it's either diet starts Monday or New Year, New Me. You kind of got to pick one or the other. And if you're a New Year, New Me, it's today, which people won't hear this today, but that's okay. You all get the point.
Yeah. They'll all look at it and be like, oopsies, that was me. You already went into the New Year procrastinating. Good job. Well, I mean, the reality is, Marcus, they have all the Christmas cookies they need to finish. They don't want to throw them out. Guys, I'm here to tell you, throw it out. throw the amount of crap that I threw out when my family came. Because my husband's family all came. I just don't eat that stuff because I don't like how it makes me feel. But
oh yeah,
I was like, my husband doesn't need this. In the trash it goes.
I know one of the best like pieces of nutrition advice that I ever heard was from do you know E.C. Sinkowski? Optimize Meal Nutrition. She's okay. We can get into that later if we want to. But one of the things that she says if you binge it, don't buy it, or like get it out of your house. And especially for this time of year, a lot of people are trying especially nutrition habits, health habits, which obviously we'll focus on and things like that, right? And that seems like a straightforward one. It's like remove the access to stuff that you want to have less of. So if you've got it in your one is just make one decision at the grocery store to not buy the thing, as opposed to a decision every day you're hungry to not grab the thing. That's just like a lot less decisions you have to make. And then, hey, along with that, if you've got stuff that's lingering from the holidays and you're ready to not eat it anymore, well, don't keep it in your house. Like that,
in the trash. Like, it's okay. You're allowed to throw it out. That's the thing. I think a lot of people get into this mindset of, I don't want to waste it. Waste it. It's okay. Yeah, it's like, and if you don't want to waste it, it's okay. Donate it. Like, if you really want to be that person, go donate it. Yeah. I don't know if people would want that, but
well, that's a double positive, right? Because then, like, you feel good because you donated something and you got it out of your house, and you set yourself up for better habits. So that's a win-win for the world, for the whole world.
Hell yeah. So let me give a little bit of a brief intro on what we're doing here. So Marcus was on the podcast, I was on his podcast, and we kind of realized like, hey, we vibe really well. I respect what he says and how he coaches just by the way that he talks about stuff. So we're going to be doing a monthly episode where it's like Coaching Corner, or Coach's Corner is kind of what I'm dabbling with right now. I think that's going to be the name of it, Coach's Corner, where each week or each month we kind of hit topics or a topic regarding how you can learn from us without being coached by us.
Yep, exactly.
And we're going to kick it off strong.
We've both got, a good amount of experience and worked with a variety of people. So hopefully we've got some nuggets that people can take away and start, applying now, right? I think that's the biggest thing, is like, how can we give people listening here something that they can take away and be like, oh, I think I can do that, and I can start today, and I can start improving on whatever habits or moving towards whatever goals I'm working towards, right? So that's the goal, right? Is let's give you something that you could do now, today, and keep going and keep moving forward. So
correct. And I think the biggest part of it too is that we're two different people. We're two different styles of coaching, right? Even though we agree on a lot of things, we speak differently. We are different coaches, and we coach different types of people. So we have all the of experience. So maybe if I say something and it doesn't connect with you, maybe Marcus will say it a different way and it'll connect with you.
Exactly. Or I'll just be your hype man, right? You'll say something and be like, preach, and then we'll run from there.
Yeah. Or vice versa. I could be the hype woman too.
There we go.
Hell yeah. Right, so and of course, new year, new me. The topic for today is how to be successful in 2026 and truly make it your year, because everybody says, new year, new me. And to be honest, that's probably one of the cringiest things people say. And the reason I say that is I respect people who want to get their shit together, who want to make a change in their life. And I don't care when you do it. I don't care if you wait until the new year and then you do it. But the reality that I see over and over again is the people who say new year, new me, because I worked in a gym for years and years, and I would sign hundreds of people up during the first week of the year to never see that person walk back into the gym. They scream it from the rooftops, and they don't keep that commitment to themselves. And that's why I cringe at that saying, because very little of the time is it new year, new me. And then we get to the end of the year and that person truly transformed their life.
Sure, for sure, right? And I think there's probably a couple reasons that we could start to unpack, right, and hopefully get a little philosophical, but then also back to pretty tactical, right? So, if you think about it, and it's funny, the new year, new me thing. So the gym where I coach, I help out with some of the social media stuff too, and we just put something up that was like, it was like new year, new me is a scam, right? It's like and the part of it was just trying to be engagey for the algorithm, right, for the robots.
Right. It's a game,
but the idea was like, it's not new year, new me. Like, you're not going to change who you are going to be the same person. You can be a better version of you. You can have new habits, but you are going to be still you. Right. So that's like super philosophical. I think the other, like, at least for me, what I think about in relation to that is that have you ever read the book Man's Search for Meaning?
I haven't.
You haven't? Okay. I would put that on it's an absolutely incredible book. I thought about it because I just listened to the episode that you did with Sully, and you guys were talking about reading. I'm like, man, what are some of those books for me? This was one, right? And it was so if anybody out there is listening and has read it, you're going to know where I'm going with this, right? But the premise of the book is it's a psychologist that wrote it in like the 1950s or 60s. He was Jewish during World War II and survived the concentration camps during World War II. And so he talked about the things that he observed in the concentration camps from a psychological perspective, right? And so one of the quotes that he says that's a very well-known one is, he who has a strong why can endure any how. And part of where I'm coming back with that, right, is when you say new year, new me, I would challenge people that are coming into the new year thinking that to really define what new me is. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's where things get lost is new year, new me. I'm going to try these things, but it's like, but who are you trying to become? Who is the new me that you're trying to be? Right. Like, what is the why behind that that's going to help carry you through the days that suck? Because guess what? There are going to be days that suck. There are days that things aren't going to work out well. Right. And I'm sure, that's where I think, and we've talked about this a little bit. I can't remember if it was when you were on my podcast or vice versa, about like really getting into like the emotional side of like the goal setting and like why you are striving for the goal that you have set for yourself, right? Like what's the deep-seated connection and reason to why that's important to you. And that I think is where I don't think enough people like will go through the work to really define that, to then make it so enticing that they can't not do it. You know what I mean?
I truly think that what it comes down to, and that's what you're kind of alluding to, is finding purpose in what you're doing and not just doing it almost for the sake of doing something, which I feel like a lot of people do for the new year. They think because of how social media blasts it and how, marketing and everything, all these companies are marketing to you, like to do something for the new year. So they change. I need to change who I am. But you have to have purpose behind that change. Or like you alluded to, you're not getting up at 5 a.m. when it's ice cold out and you're nice and warm and cozy in your bed. And you have this goal to lose X amount of weight, but you don't want to go to the gym, but you haven't found the purpose in what you're doing. You're just kind of doing it because you feel like it's what you're supposed to do.
For sure. And I'll give you an example from one of the guests that I had on my podcast back in episode 4. His name's Nick Kennedy. So he's actually the one that he voices the intro and the outro on my podcast. So anybody that goes and listens
That's
to
fun
it.
fact.
Silverback Media podcast, by the way. So go check that out. Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Follow, subscribe, do it for the robots. But it'll be down below. He also does like voice work, like he's voiced some audiobooks and stuff. Great voice, awesome guy, awesome story. But he talks about that his first kind of exposure to like wanting to improve his health and things was that he saw his dad when he was younger. His dad actually passed away when he was relatively young. I think he was in his teenage years. But his dad had I think it was 3 heart attacks. And so, there's any number of reasons to why someone would have multiple heart attacks, but part of what he observed was that there were a lot of lifestyle choices that had an impact on that. Maybe not the direct cause of it, but like, hey, those are controllable things as opposed to genetics or anything else that could have gone into the mix on that, right? But him observing that at a young age, he had that thought to himself of like, okay, whenever I have a family, my responsibility is to take care of my own health, and so I can be there for my family as they grow up. Now, if you're listening to this and you hear that story and you're like, damn, that's deep. It's like, well, who do you think is going to be more likely to wake up early on those cold days? The person that's thinking I have a responsibility to be healthy for my family, or the person that their goal is I want to lose 20 pounds? And not that there's something wrong with that goal, but it's more of like, why 20 pounds? Why that number? What's your real reason on the other side of that goal that's going to wake you up on those cold mornings, like you said, right? So that's like one example that you look at. It's like, oh, there's a deep-seated reason there that he's going to wake up every day and do the work because of what he experienced on the receiving end of that same experience when he was a kid. And
it's kind of like with perspective, right? The perspective, it drives everything. And when it comes to the purpose, and I think I was talking about this when we were talking about like, how do I push through hard training days? Because I find purpose in the pain, in the suffering, because it's not just for no reason. I'm not just going out there and, doing it for no reason. I have an end goal, something that I'm pursuing because of a particular reason. So I think when you have a goal and you write out this goal, because I know that a lot of you have already done it or are going to do it, you need to look at the goal as something that you want and then dig deeper. Like when I have a client and we have a first phone call and they say, oh, I want to be healthier. Okay, well, why?
What does that mean?
First of all, yes. What does healthy mean? Because healthy means something different for so many different people, right? So I need to know what you're actually thinking, what's going through your head, but then you also need to know what's going through your head. So you need to really dig and be like, okay, healthy means this, but why? And then when you give me a why, well, why that? Until we get so emotionally attached to the goal that it's going to stick a little bit harder than it had in the past.
Yeah, it should be something that when you get to that deep answer, like it should kind of hit you like a ton of bricks.
It should. It should be emotional.
Yeah. Not like you're, sitting there bawling, crying. Some people might, and that's okay. It's totally cool. And it's okay if you're not crying, but it should be one that you're like, maybe. But yeah, it should be something that when it hits you, you're like, wow, like it should be one like I've never actually written it out like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Potentially. And then when you actually look at it on paper, you're like, oh my gosh, like I can't not do that, right? Like how, let me see if I can word this the right way. It's almost the kind of thing where you look at it and you're like, man, I don't know. You tell me what you think about this. I'm going to riff on it. It's like, I'd be selfish to not do that thing because of all the people around me that could benefit from me hitting whatever goal that is. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
I like that. I like that reframe. I like that because I think a lot of people, a lot of times they think of it in the other way. Like I can't get in shape because I have kids, I have a family, but that should be the reason why you should be in shape for your family, for your kids.
Yeah.
That as a reason as I just don't have the time. You don't have time. You make time for the things that are important to you. And maybe you have less time than somebody who's in their 20s and doesn't have those responsibilities. So it just looks different. I have a lot of clients who come to me and they say, oh, well, fitness used to be easy. Well, you didn't have a full-time job, husband, kids. You didn't have all these things. So while it might not be as easy, quotes, it's just going to look different. So you have to shift your expectations because your expectations are skewed. And when your expectations are off, everything else feels way worse.
100%, especially around timeline stuff, right? Like timeline and expectation of when you want to achieve the goal, right? Like there's a level, and this is part of why like having a coach is so helpful because they can help ask those hard questions, right? Like if you say, if you start working with a coach and you're like, well, I want to be healthier. And they're like, okay, cool. Here's 7 things that you need to start doing. Like that's a red flag, right? If they're not asking questions of like, well, why do you want to have that goal? How long do you think it will take? Hey, by the way, have you considered the fact that all these other factors, like you have a full-time job, you've got multiple kids and all that stuff, like might get in the way of you achieving the goal on the timeline that you think, right? Like someone needs to be challenging you on those things. And it's not to be a Debbie Downer, but it's to help set you up for success, right? So that way you can actually have the best chance at achieving it. And not just achieving that goal, but being able to continue whatever habits led you to that goal after the fact, right?
Correct.
If you just sell your soul out for hitting a goal, if we keep using the weight loss thing, right? Just as an example, if you'd like do everything to like lose 50 pounds in 2 months, I'm just, random numbers, like, but then you don't actually build the habits and the routines to help sustain that afterwards. Well, then what good was the goal, right? Like that didn't do you anything because like who you are fundamentally, you are not a new person now, right? You look different, but if you just go back to what you were doing before, like that's not, then you didn't change anything that's going to help change who you are and carry you forward into the rest of your life. So like somebody needs to be challenging you with those questions to make sure that you're set up with a reasonable expectation to achieve that goal. If there's certain things like, hey, I want to do this, a half marathon or a marathon and it's on a specific date. Okay, cool. Then you've got a timeline that you need to stick to, right? And to make sure that you're on time with that. If it's not something very specific that's time bound already because of a specific date where something needs to happen, then give yourself a little bit of extra time. You don't need to be that aggressive on your timeline, especially if it's going to lead you to the potential of frustration because you're going to feel like a failure because you didn't hit it, even though you might have completely changed yourself along the way and you're not going to give yourself credit for the progress you did make.
Yeah. So 2 things there. One thing that I like to say to every single person that I meet with is it will take longer than you want it to take. It will take longer than you think it will take. That's just simply how it is. Right. And the second thing is so many people, when they go into a weight loss journey, and the reason why I'm using that example is because that's what the majority of people are using. Right. Yeah. So you have to understand that it's not about losing weight as fast as possible, because that's not the way to lose it. It's about losing it as sustainably as possible. It doesn't matter how long it takes, but if it's sustainable, then guess what? You sustain it and you keep the results instead of continuing to have to do this every single fucking year, where you start off the new year with this goal of losing the same 20 pounds that you've been losing for the past decade.
Yeah. That's like, it's I chuckle because it's like that routine or that cycle coincides a little bit with the new year, new me
Yep.
mentality, right? And it's like, well, how often can you do new year, new me before you're like, okay, wait a second. Like if I want to do this over again, like I might need to try something different, and not something different in terms of like what's this year's fad diet, but something different in terms of like what is something that I can keep up into next year so I don't have to go new year, new me again, right? Like what, I guess how do you have that conversation? Because like if people come in and they're, like goal setting, right, and they're aggressive on timelines, like what are, tactical things like, from your perspective coaching wise that you will tell them, questions you'll ask them to help them kind of like appreciate the process and, for lack of a better term, right, just like slow down a little bit, right, and understand that the process long term is more important.
I think one of the biggest things is I allow them to understand what they're feeling right now. Motivation isn't it's an emotion. It's a feeling. We have it not all the time, just like happiness, just like sadness. We're not happy all the time. We're not sad all the time. So we can't expect to be motivated all the time. But motivation, it's like a spark. It's like striking the match. But then building habits is like installing electricity. It's like actually making it continue going forward. So what we need to focus on is sustainable habits. And if they come at me and say, well, I want to do this, this, and this, well, then the reality is, well, didn't you do that last year? Didn't you do that the year before? Why are you here with me right now? Because those things didn't work. That's kind of like when somebody says, they come to me and they say, oh, well, I asked them, what have you tried in the past? Things of that nature. Well, keto was the only diet that ever worked for me. Wrong. It didn't work for you. You lost weight. You gained it back. It didn't work.
If it worked, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right, correct. If it worked, we wouldn't be here right now, and you would be nice and happy and in the body that you wanted. But the reality is, it didn't work. You thought it worked because it gave you some instant gratification, which is what so many people are chasing. Because most of the time, and I was just having this conversation with my nutrition coach, when people think, for example, they need to constantly change up their foods and meals, I'm a big proponent of, look, if it's working, like keep it fucking simple. Like,
yeah.
If you can do that, I'm like a big proponent of that because I have basically the same thing every day because it's like easy. It's almost mindless and monotonous at this point. And it allows me to be successful long term. And my most successful clients kind of operate on that same way where they can be flexible. But if you're constantly looking to change up your food, it has nothing to do with the food and everything to do with the fact that you're chasing dopamine.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you're introducing more decisions that need to be made along the way, which
it makes it harder.
Yeah, 100%. And it's also like it's making it harder, right? You've got to think through that many more things, which becomes that's where the thing of like, do you track your food?
I do.
You do? Okay, yeah, same. And it's like that's where we're tracking, right? And not that tracking is the only way to be successful with it, but just like, speaking from that perspective, it's like that's where tracking can become overwhelming. Is because if you're trying to change up your food, which, hey, if you like variety, I get it, right? Like that's a different thing. But if it's causing you more stress and more anguish and overwhelm to stay on the journey and on track to the goals you want to hit, then you need to reevaluate. Like, is this wanting a variety serving me in the journey that I'm on, right? Or do I need to try, like we've been saying, right? Do I need to try something a little bit different that I haven't done yet because maybe it's going to actually help me get to the goal that I want, that I've been trying to get to for the last 5 years, and I'm back in the same place that I've been in, right? Yeah, and you mentioned the habit piece. That's such a big component of it, right? Because it's like what's the James Clear quote? You've read Atomic Habits. I'm just gonna go ahead
that's like that's honestly. If anybody is looking for a book to read in the new year and you haven't read Atomic Habits, that is the first book I have every single one of my clients read for the purpose of it teaches them what they need to understand about building habits. Because that's really what it is when it comes to reaching any goal. It's just building habits. It really is.
Yeah. So I had a nutrition client. This was a couple of years ago. So I think when we started together, she was in the high, like mid to high 300s in terms of body weight, right? And goal was to lose weight, understandably. And she, we went through the whole goal setting exercise, and well, actually kind of back to the whole purpose conversation, right? the goal that we ended up getting to, right? Or the reason why she wanted to lose the weight. She was like, I don't want to die early. I want to see my grandkids whenever they're born. And I'm like, well, that'll get you out of bed way more than
Yeah, that's a good
100 pounds. Yeah. It's like, I want to see my grandchildren that aren't born yet. I don't want to die early. I'm like, okay, yep, I think we found it. But that was one of the books that I had to read was Atomic Habits. And literally we went through, and I remember it was mildly frustrating for both of us. It was probably a good 5 months before she started really losing weight. But all we focused on along the way was building the habits. Like, okay, get the consistency down. Like, let's not try anything new yet. We introduced a couple new different tactics here and there. And then around that 5 month mark, bam, it turned the corner. And I think he even tells a story about that, like of the melting of an ice cube. It's like,
Yep.
you can keep, increasing 1 degree at a time. And until you get to 32 degrees, nothing's going to happen. But once you hit it, now things are starting to move. Right. And that was
I love that
what
analogy.
happened with this client. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And thankfully she read that book early on when we were working together, because then we were both kind of operating on that mindset. And even every, call we'd have, it's like, oh man, this is frustrating. But like habits are being more consistent. Like we're building. And then bam, once it hit that kind of boiling point, then weight just started coming off. And now she's like getting ready to do a powerlifting competition, right? Like I still kind of keep up with her from time to time. So that's one of those where like habits are what ultimately are going to form that sustainable approach that you can keep doing for the long term afterwards, right? Like if you don't take the time to build the habits and build the routines and then actually sit down and think like, okay, these are the habits that are working for me, that are getting me the result. How can I do these in the least amount of time and effort possible? Right. So that way I can use the mental energy to approach other things in my life that I want to do too. Right. Then like that's where the magic really happens. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I there's one thing that I listen to Mind Pump like every single day. Have you ever heard Mind Pump podcast?
I have. I think I've come across a couple episodes.
My favorite podcast. But one thing that they say a lot is, on a weight loss journey, you want to do the least amount of work possible to elicit the most amount of change, because
100%.
That's what's sustainable. And most people, when they go into the new year, this kind of goes back to expectations, is they honestly, they make it harder than it needs to be. They think, I've been working out. Not at all. So I'm going to go to the gym every fucking day. And I go from eating out all the time, not cooking any meals at home, to eating chicken and broccoli all day long. That's not going to work. Like you're going to be able to do that for like a week, maybe 2. And then you're just going to burn yourself out, and it's not sustainable. It's almost like walking up a staircase. It's one thing at a time. And I like to focus on the big rocks with my clients. So things that are really going to move the needle the fastest, which would be number one is like protein intake. Most people just don't eat enough protein, and they think they do because they have this skewed mindset of what enough protein looks like. So one thing that my mom does all the time is, I've been trying to get my mom to eat more protein for like the last decade. Right. And every year I feel like she's starting to make a little bit of progress. And then she says something to me and I'm like, oh man, we were back to square one. But she is like, Kaitlyn, I eat a lot of protein. So I had her literally tell me exactly what she eats every day. She starts off the day with 2 eggs. And I was like, great, that's 12 grams of protein. And your goal is 120.
We got some work to do.
Right. And then 4 ounces of chicken with lunch. Great. That's like another 25.
Like yeah.
Right. And then we have 4 ounces of chicken for dinner. Great. Another 25. So right now we're at about 72. And then you throw in a protein shake that has 20, you're at like 92. Right. Yeah. Which is better probably than the most Americans, unfortunately. Yeah. But it's not where you need to be in order to lose body fat, build, maintain lean muscle tissue. People don't realize that protein isn't just for muscle building. It's literally for everything in your body that requires growth and repair. So the first thing that protein is going to be used for is everything in your body that requires growth and repair. And then if you're eating enough protein, the rest is used for muscle, so long as you are stimulating it through strength training. And it doesn't have to be every day during the week, because that's not sustainable and your body's not going to recover from that. If you're doing 0 right now, go do 1 strength training workout each week. Just one. And then you can get up to 3 if you want. But honestly, most of my clients who are very successful, Gen Pop, they are doing 3 days of full body strength training each week, because with their schedule, it's sustainable. They can do 3 days a week. they are recovering from 3 days a week because their life is very stressful. People don't realize that life stress also adds on to workout stress. And if your body's not recovering, you're not seeing results. That's the biggest mistake I see people make, is they just go too fucking hard in the paint.
And that's where I think about this from the perspective of like, how scientists conduct studies, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want to test one variable,
Right.
Because they want to prove causality, right? Which causality correlation, I'm sure we could have a whole freaking rabbit hole about that.
Oh, for sure.
Conversation, right? We're gonna set that one off to the side for today. But the point is, right, if you're testing something and you're going through all this work to conduct an experiment as like a research scientist, you want to come out with as close to a fact as possible that this thing caused this result. And why I'm kind of bringing that up as it relates to like changing habits and things. If you start doing 7 different new habits that take you a whole day to freaking get through and you get a result, 1, awesome, great job. But 2, you have no idea which one of those 7 drove the result. So it could have been, right, that 2 out of those 7 things were the ones that actually drove the result forward. And those are the only 2 that you would need to keep doing, but you don't know. So now the only option you have is to keep doing all 7. And guess what? 3 months later, you're like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. I'm burned out. It's like, well, instead, let's stack those onto each other, right? If you want to get to the point of doing all 7 habits, totally cool. I love that decision for you. But do one at a time. Do one at a time. Give it some time. You've got to actually do it consistently to see if it's going to have a result, right? And then if you get a result, cool. Now you can keep it. And now you can, whenever you feel like you're kind of got the routine down, now add something else in, right? Because that's how you actually go through the experimentation to determine what things work for you and what things don't work, or how you make them work for you, right? Because there are some things like the protein example, right? Working on protein and working on eating adequate protein is something that works for everybody. So that's not a matter of like, well, eating protein doesn't work for me. It's like, no. Eating protein will work for you.
It totally does. Unless you have like a pre-existing kidney condition, then like,
if you got medical,
let's talk to your doctor. But
for sure,
if you're the average American, you don't eat enough protein, and protein is not a fad. I get so many comments on TikTok when I talk.
Getting fired up. Here she goes.
Where they're like, oh, she's part of the protein fad. And I'm like, protein is not a fad.
It's not a fad. It's not a fad, guys. It's a protein.
It's
okay.
Studied to be, it's literally, people think too, it's like, I don't want to be a bodybuilder. Oh, great. Do you want to live? Like, because protein is an essential nutrient. Protein and fat, essential nutrient. Without them, you would die. Which is why I see so many females have hormone issues, because they don't eat enough fat, or they don't eat enough protein. Duh. Or they just don't eat enough, period. And I think, again, going back to like habits and stuff, focusing on one thing at a time, one thing is really the way to do it.
Yeah, 100%. Because you got to, like, especially if it's something new, you have so many things to figure out between your schedule, between like, where am I going to go do this thing, right? If we keep running with the protein example, right? How much is that going to change my grocery order, right? Do I need to actually buy more? Like, how much more time do I need to spend looking at labels to make sure, like, hey, if I'm going to get ground beef as a part of my added protein, well, I need to make sure I'm getting like 93.7 or something that's significantly leaner versus 80-20, because I need to be, so there's a lot of other things, logistically speaking, that come into play to making a habit work, that if you try to do all of these things at a time, it'll work for a period of time, but eventually it'll more than likely lead to burnout. Because like it's a lot. And if you already have a lot going on, this is okay. I'm going to say something that's going to piss some people off. Hey, quick interruption from me. I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. If you are, I have a favor to ask of you. The main way that this thing can continue to spread is through word of mouth. So if you're enjoying this episode, send it to someone or share it with someone that may benefit from it or enjoy it as well. Leave a comment, drop a 5-star review, follow the show, share about it on social media. That's the main way that we can help get this message out to others so we can continue to spread this, okay? I'd really appreciate it if you do that. And now let's get back to the show. If you are have not been doing any training, and you're coming into New Year, New Me, and you want to lose weight, please don't do 75 hard. I'm just going to say it, right? I'm totally cool with people doing 75 hard if you're like well trained and you've got a reason that's not specifically like health or weight loss related. But if that's the first thing that you're trying to do to change as a New Year, New Me, I'm begging you. I'm begging you. Let's find a different thing. It is a great program. That is not what it's intended for.
And I agree with you 100%. And this is coming
Thank
from
you.
somebody who I literally, 75 Hard saved my life when I did it. I did the
Yeah.
whole Live Hard program. But guess what?
That's a
I
whole
didn't
year, right?
I didn't
That's
do it with
the
the
whole year.
intention of losing weight
Yeah.
and going from 0 to 100. I did it with the intention of upgrading my mental toughness and proving to myself that I can do hardship. I was already going to the gym every day. I was already training twice a day. I was already eating well. I was already, doing all these things, but I needed confidence within myself. And that's exactly what that program taught me. But people get into it for the wrong reason. In fact, I have a client right now who I'm trying to like talk them out of doing it. But he's like, he'll go from like, oops, I ate a whole box of Christmas tree cakes to I'm doing 75 hard tomorrow. And it's like, bro, how many times have we started 75 hard? I need you to understand that can we just like take the 75 hard mentality and put it into hitting your fucking protein goal every day and building that consistency? Because back to habits and back to all this, none of it matters if you're not consistent. I had a client a couple of weeks ago, and I've had this conversation so many times in my career with different clients where they're like, I don't know, I feel like I'm not seeing results, it's not working. And I asked them, oh, well, are you tracking your food? Because I don't see anything in there. Oh, well, I know what I'm eating. No, you don't.
The red flag.
Are you weighing it? No, sometimes or occasionally or not really. And it's like, it's a yes or no question. Are you weighing your food? Are you not weighing your food? Are you tracking it? Or are you not? Because the reality is, if you're not being consistent, you're not going to see results. You can't just wish and hope and complain about results. You have to actually do the action that's required, and you have to do it consistently, not a few days out of the week.
And here's a little hack. Hate that word. On finding habits that you can do consistently. Make them things that are under your control. So like just the questions you were just asking there, right? Are you tracking your food? Are you weighing your food? That's under someone's control if it's a habit they want to build, right? If you ask someone, hey, are you losing weight? That's not technically under your control. You can do a bunch of things that set you up to lose weight, but you can't control what happens on the scale. But if you break that down to what are the habits that give me the best chance to achieve this goal, those are things that are under your control. Did I track my food? Did I weigh my food? Did I stick to the plan? Did I go for a walk like I said I was going to? Did I go to the gym? Those are things that you have, hesitate to say full control over, but you have control over doing those things. You can make them happen. Things happen. I get it. It's not going to be perfect, but you have control over, if it's an random normal every day, you have control of making those things happen. So if you boil your habits down, the habits that you want to be consistent to things that are under your control, and at least for me, the way I like to approach it is things that you can complete. This is where I'm just going to keep using the 75 hard example. And I understand the reason for this one in there. The no alcohol one, I get why it's in there.
Yes.
If somebody's working on building habits, I want to stay away from trying to track a habit that's not something you can complete. You can't complete not drinking alcohol, right? You can just hold off long enough until you eventually potentially fail that, and then you feel like a failure. But if you can reframe that, right? Like let's say you want to stop drinking alcohol, right? You can reframe that to something that's positive you can complete, like the water goal that they have in 75 hard, or if you figure out the time that you typically have alcohol, right? Or the different environments or people you're around or something like that, find something to replace that trigger that is something you can complete, that can be something that ends up having you drink less alcohol as a byproduct, but not as the main goal. That's a way then you can, at least for me, I'm a check the box kind of guy, right?
Yeah,
so it's
same.
like if I can say like, oh, drink a gallon of water, boom, got it, done. I can complete that. And then I know for the rest of the day, I'm like, sweet, now we focus, move to tomorrow, right?
Right.
But if the goal is I'm not going to drink alcohol, I'm not going to eat sugar, I'm not, then it's like, well, and we definitely talked about this last time. That's where then you start to focus on those things, right? Then you start to look around and think, oh, well, where's there sugar in the house? Oh, crap. I ate that one thing by mistake. Damn it, I'm a failure because I had sugar. Well, it's like, how can we reframe the habit in a way that sets you up for success and for lack of a better term, rewards you for the progress you are making in building the consistency of the habit long term?
Absolutely. I love how you worded all of that. I think people need to understand that 75 hard, great program, not for weight loss, for mental toughness. And Andy Frisella talks about this all the time. It is not a weight loss program. It is not a fitness program. That's how the media wants to portray it. They're like, oh, this fitness pro, it's not a TikTok challenge. It's a mental toughness protocol. It's a mental toughness. It's designed to reshape your habits, reshape your life, not just change you for 75 days. And then once 75 days is over, you go back to doing your old shit and nothing's changed, meaning you did the program wrong. And there are a lot of people that I know, because I was in the first form community, who have done 75 hard and they cannot function without 75 hard. So they do it over and over and over and over again. Great. I love to see you do that. But why can't you function when you're not on 75 hard? That's the problem.
That's a crutch. That's a dependency at that point.
Correct. And that shows me that you're not truly building habits. You're just attached to this one thing. And we need to kind of take the training wheels off and see how you do in the real world.
Yeah.
And I think
exactly
a different way for us to go about it, because one thing I do love about 75 hard that you mentioned is I like to check shit off. So like same, like I love that, because so many people, like, they have the 75 hard app, they check off their day. It gives them like, you won the day. And you're like, yes, I won today. And it gives you that confidence. It builds that momentum. And that's really what the program is about. So take that and apply it to something else that Andy Frisella talks about, which is the power list, right? Have you ever heard of the power list?
Hey, what is it, like 5 things on any given day, right? Is it 5? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 5 tasks. And if you're just starting off, you can do like, I tell my clients like 3 to 5 things, 3 to 5 things that you can do every single day that build momentum to help you change your life and build habits. That's what it's about, right? So if you check them all off, not 3 out of 5, you check them all off, you put a W at the bottom of the page. Woohoo, I won today. If you didn't, you put a big old L. That doesn't feel good. Nobody likes to get an L. So then you're like, okay, cool. Well, what can I learn from today to apply to tomorrow to get that W back? So really what it is all about, it's about, okay, maybe you didn't win all 30 days in the month, but you won 20. And then the next month you won 25. So we're getting better and better. And then as these things start to become habits, say you put drink a gallon of water every single day, you put it on. And after 2 months, you're just like, oh, that's easy for me. I don't even have to think about it anymore. Take that habit off, put a different habit on. It's about building habits. So if you're somebody who's like, I want to do 75 hard, why don't we do the power list for a couple months first and see if that actually works for you? And then if you still need the mental toughness of 75 hard, you can do that, but only if it's for the right reasons.
100%. Yeah. I'm going to, because I like that the WL component on the power list. I'm going to add one. I'm going to throw one thing in there, but and this kind of goes back to like us just kind of maybe talking about the same things in different ways, right? And by the way, I agree. It would not feel good to have to write that L at the bottom, right?
Shitty.
There's a frame in there that I think, especially if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, that's a really cool idea, but I want you to think about it as like you know, maybe you lost that day, but that doesn't mean you're a loser.
Yes.
Right. Like there is a difference. Right. And so if that's something that really like bugs you, and like if you put that L, you start to have this internal spiral of I'm a loser, then I want you to reframe that L. Like, do you know John Maxwell? The leadership consultant. Yeah.
I have like so many of his books, actually. I'm looking at a few right there.
There you go. Show off. No, but he's so one of the things he likes to say, right, is either you win or you learn. So that's another way to reframe that L, right? Is like if you have that win at the bottom of the day, awesome. Keep doing the same thing. If you get to the end of the day and you got to write an L, think about that as, okay, what can not I lost today, but think about it as what can I learn from today? So that way tomorrow I can write a W, right? Did I sleep in later than I normally do, so I didn't get a chance to prep my food at the beginning of the day? Did I, did I have a family member get sick so I couldn't go to the gym? Like, there's things that you can take away to apply, so that way the next day you can see if you can protect those things from happening again, right? And then be able to write that W. Again, it's all about the building of momentum. If you start to look at yourself as a loser, well, guess what? Then, you're just going to keep reinforcing that mentality. And every time you got to write an L, you're going to have that I'm a loser. And it's like, well, is that helpful? To some people, it might be, because that might force them to change. But to some people, it's going to be like, well, then I guess I'm just a loser and that's what I do. And it's like, well, no. That just means you need to learn. Was there something here that got in my way? And can I prevent that from happening tomorrow so I can write the W and become the person that I'm trying to be?
Yep. And that kind of, we've spoken about the foundations, right? Finding purpose in what you're doing. We're building habits. We're setting appropriate expectations. And that this part kind of catalysts into the next part, which is kind of like, not every day is going to be perfect. You are going to lose. You are going to fail. And that's okay. What happens is people allow their first failure to be their last failure because they think, oh no, this isn't supposed to happen. Something's wrong with me. I won't do this anymore because I'm not doing it right. The journey, and I'll repeat it, the journey is a fucking mess. The journey is a mess. It's disgusting. Hard work is not pretty. Sometimes it's not fun, but it's always worth it. And the thing that I need people to understand is exactly what you said there, is that you're going to win some days, you're going to lose some days, but I don't want you to look at that loss as I'm a loser. I want you to look at it as, how can I learn from this, apply it to the next day, and grow from it? Every single failure it's an opportunity for growth. But too many people look at it on the opposite end, where I failed, this sucks. No, you failed. Learn from it, grow from it, make yourself better because of it. Get excited when you fail. I used to fear failure. And I spoke about this, I think, on either your podcast, probably your podcast, where I always in training would fear failure. So one time I lowered the weight and my coach was like, you wanted it to be easier because you were afraid to fail. If you fear failure, you'll never get to where you want to be. So I said, cool, never doing that again. So every time I'm like, maybe I can go up. I don't know. I might fail, go up. If you fail, what happens? You fail. That's it. Like, it's not that bad.
You don't die.
Yeah, that's bad, but
yeah, right. That would not be good. So like, don't put yourself in those positions, but as long as you don't die, like, okay, you can just come back and try again, And
losing failure, it sucks. It hurts. Like, but all of the great people, and we've all heard this before, have failed. Like the Starbucks guy, whatever the hell his name is, I don't know. The guy who came up with Starbucks, he tried to get this idea going for so many years and pitched it to so many people and got denied, got laughed at. Same thing. Netflix and Blockbuster. Let's talk about that. Blockbuster said Netflix is stupid. I'm sorry, Blockbuster. Where are you at now? Where are you at?
There's that one left in Alaska, I think. That's about all.
Yeah, there's one Blockbuster left, and I'm pretty sure it's only there because it's almost like a nostalgic thing that people go to. But the reality is,
I get it. Yeah.
I listened to a podcast actually that the founder of Netflix did talking about that when they went to Blockbuster and asked them to do this collaboration and be like, hey, let's do this together. And they literally got laughed at because their idea was so stupid to Blockbuster. It's never going to work. You're never going to be able, because they started off sending kind of like a Redbox situation where they were sending DVDs to people. Yeah, and then they started like with the Redbox type situation. And then now it's everybody knows Netflix, but not everybody knows. Only people who know Blockbuster are like us, like our generation, who's like, I miss Blockbuster. But
if your birth year starts with a 2, you probably don't know what Blockbuster is.
Blockbuster, the fuck is that? Blockbuster was the best experience of my childhood. Okay, everybody haters.
Friday nights, get some popcorn and a Blockbuster. Remember to rewind, everybody. Yeah,
so great. But I think the biggest thing to learn from all that is people are gonna laugh at you. You might mess up and make mistakes on any journey that you're on, whether it's a weight loss journey or a career journey, anything, and that's okay. Just don't stay down. You're allowed to fall down. Just don't stay down. It's kind of like, I use this analogy of if you're walking down the street and you have this straight line and there's your destination, which is your goal. It's right there. You can kind of see it, but it's far away. And you're walking along, and you walking is like each day, right? You're doing all your habits. You're doing your thing. One day is a bad day. You fall flat on your face. Do you just sit on the curb and just sit there? No, you get back up and you walk forward. Like, you just keep going. It's kind of like when a baby's learn to walk and they fall over, they try again. We need to be more like babies. In more way than none.
Damn. That's a bumper sticker or something like that, right? It's like, be more like a baby. I have a question for you. When was the last time you tried something new and you were perfect at it from the start?
I don't think I could ever say that I have been.
But how would you ever learn to do anything new, right? So
True.
I think that's something, anybody that's getting into it and they kind of go into it with that perspective of the first failure spirals you off, right? It's like, think about anything that you've tried in your life. You're not going to be perfect right at the start. It takes time to learn stuff, and that's okay. That's part of the process. That's normal. But you also have to embrace it. That's a part of the process and be like, okay, cool. That day didn't go the way I wanted it to. kind of like what we were just talking about with the win versus loss thing. What can I learn from it to make sure that I get back on track tomorrow? It's like, you were talking about walking to a destination. I think about this like a GPS in a car, right? Like if you're, driving somewhere you've never driven before, right? You're going on a road trip, you punch in the address, GPS starts calculating the route for you. If you make a wrong turn, the GPS isn't going to be like, you're an idiot. I knew you weren't going to be able to follow these directions anyways. It'll just be like recalculating, and it'll get you back on track, right? So it's like, think about it like the GPS, right? Like all you need to do is recalculate, think about where the destination is and think, okay, from where I am now, because I had this one day that didn't go the way I wanted to, what can I do to get back on track today, right? And I'm going to throw this in there, right? That doesn't mean you have to go in the wrong direction the opposite way to even it out or whatever, right?
Yes.
If you miss a workout one day, you don't need to do 2 workouts tomorrow to quote unquote make up for it. You just do a workout the next day and move on.
Just get back. Yep.
Just get back on it. There was this one reel I saw a long time ago. I wish I could remember who it was from. But it was talking about, habit building and when you fall off or whatever. And it was like, it's these 2 ladies that are nutrition coaches. And one of them is walking and she's holding like a stuffed animal and she drops it. And then she just looks all sad. And then the other one's like, what happened? And she goes, oh, I dropped my bunny habit. And the other one's like, well, just pick it back up and keep going. She's like, oh, yeah, that's a good point. So it's like, it's silly, but it makes sense. It's like, if you drop a habit by mistake or something happens, that doesn't mean you have to just sit there and stare at it on the floor. You can just pick it back up the next day and keep moving, right? But part of that is like, in your mind, you've got to believe that you're capable of doing that, right? You've got to believe that, oh, I missed the workout today. I'm not a bad person. Just something happened. Okay, tomorrow, let me see what I can do. Let me look at my schedule. Let me set out my clothes. Let me do all the things that I need to make sure of. So that way it doesn't happen again. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking on the failure piece. Right. And I had this conversation, I think it was episode 19 of my podcast with Mike Ward. He's another, CrossFit level 2 coach. He's been in it for like 15 years. And we both played college baseball. So we were talking about that and the relation of baseball to CrossFit and things from that perspective. And part of where it came up was because baseball is the kind of sport where you're going to fail the majority of the time, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the statistics there, right? If you're like as a hitter in baseball, if you get a hit 30% of the time, right? So for every 10 at bats, you have 3 out of those 10 you get a hit. In the major leagues, you're a Hall of Famer. You're one of the best players of all time, and you failed 7 out of 10 times, technically, objectively, right? So that perspective and being, for us, we were talking about how playing that sport growing up, right, and into our kind of early adulthood helped us just get a lot more comfortable with the fact that you're going to fail a lot of the time. And that's okay, right? That just means, okay, these are learning experiences to then say, well, what can I do differently the next time to make sure that I'm set up to, be successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the long term. So that, I know there's probably going to be people out here that listen to this that they're like, well, I didn't play baseball, so I didn't feel that. Okay, that's fine. That's cool. That doesn't mean you don't get to experience it too, right? But it's the mindset. It's the perspective of like, just because you failed once doesn't mean you are a failure.
Correct. And I'll throw another analogy out there too that people I feel like could also relate to, because the baseball thing is great. I had somebody tell me that like Babe Ruth, one of the best hitters of all time, failed like 7 out of 10 times. Like, well, that puts into perspective that like you can still be great and fail. And in fact, if you're not failing, I argue you're not pushing yourself hard enough and you're remaining too comfortable. But an analogy that I love to use, because I feel like the real world really relates to it, is if you drop your phone on the floor and, when you see it, it's face down, you're like heart attack. And you pick it up and it has like a little crack. Everything's fine. It's just a screen protector. You're all good. You pick it up and move on with your life, correct? But what you're doing with your nutrition, most of you, is you pick it up, you look at it, and you say, well, fuck this. And you just smash it on the floor until it's completely broken. Same analogy goes if you hit a nail when you're on the road, one of your tires flat, instead of pulling over, calling AAA or changing your tire, whatever you need to do, you go out, you take a little knife, and you start slashing all the tires. Who the fuck does that? That sounds stupid, but guess what? The majority of you listening have done that multiple times with your nutrition and your fitness.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, right? Like it's this mental spiral that let me see if I can tie this in here. So, there's this, do you listen to like EDM music, house music?
Yes.
Like, do you know the DJ Fred again? Do you know?
I don't know that one though.
You don't know that one? Okay. So somebody out here, somebody listening,
somebody knows.
Heard of him. So as I'm going through this, they're going to be like, yes. Okay, I'm going to try to keep this on the rails because I can go off on a whole rabbit hole. So he did he did a series of 3 albums that he released during 2020 and 2021, right? Where basically he was recording, whether it was conversations he was having with friends or like just these random moments. I think he lives in London, so like random moments throughout the city. And that was during the pandemic, right? So it was a lot of things closed down, and he would just record these little conversations, or he'd be somewhere and hear someone talking and just record it on his phone, and he would take the audio samples of that and turn it into these he basically turned it into a whole EDM album, right? Some of them are like absolutely massive hit songs, right? Actually, I think I used one of them in the reel that I made when you were on my podcast. So that, but besides the point, I heard him. He was doing an interview where someone was asking him about like the inspiration for that, or like why he took that approach on it. And he said, I wanted to take the everyday kind of mundane moments, those moments that just like fleeting, that could just fly on by. And I wanted to see how much beauty I could find in those moments and how much beauty I can extract out of them, in his case, through music, right? And part of the reason why I bring that up in relation to this topic is, if you have those moments where you feel like, oh, that was, that was a fail, and you feel that spiral starting to happen, this is like, I kind of take this from the way he approached creating that music. One of the things that I try to do is I think about it from the perspective of, oh man, like 6 months from now or a year from now, when I'm on the other side of this goal that I'm working towards, I'm going to look back on this moment when I had this perceived failure, and I'll be like, man, like that was a cool part of my story. That was a cool part of my journey. Right.
It always is, though. It really is.
Yeah. And so like, if I challenge myself, I'm talking to myself as I do this, right? So I'll challenge anybody else too, going through this. If you're really committed to the goal and you kind of think about it from that perspective, the reason that helps me is because it assumes that I'm going to get to the goal, right? It assumes that that's done. It's just a matter of when is it going to happen, right? How long is it going to take? But from that perspective, then knowing that I can look back on this moment, this perceived failure, and be appreciative of that moment because it was a part of the story. Well, if I feel like I can do that later, well, then I can also do that now. And I can also be like, oh man, this workout that I missed, oh, like, okay, well, that kind of sucked. But 6 months from now, when I've got this consistent habit, I'm gonna look back on this and be like, man, I can't believe that I was worried about that one workout that I missed.
Yep.
So it's like, if you're gonna have that perspective later, try to have that now. Do your best, right, to have that moment now and see where can I find beauty within this moment that could be a perceived failure, that could set me off on the wrong tracks. Like, can I find a little bit of beauty that's going to help sustain me to the next day? And so that's that piece of it, I think, is it's mental gymnastics, it's reframing, right? But so much of this stuff kind of is.
It truly is. Reframing is such a powerful
managing
tool.
what's happening. It's managing what's happening between your ears to help you stay on track for the long term. Because, like we said, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be messy. It's going to be messy. You're learning something new. Expect it to be messy. Embrace the messiness.
That's it. And that like goes back to like the setting expectations. Like, it's going to be messy. Expect it. When you expect it, it's less painful, right? Rather than like so many people they see on social media, like the perfect journey, but they don't see what that person's been through, what they do every single day. Like, they don't see that person hurting, they don't see those things, which is why I try to do my best to show like the highs and the lows, as like shitty as it is to sometimes share those lows. It's just like, this is the reality it is, right? So like a month ago, I have a ovarian cyst the size of a baseball on my ovary. They will not remove it. Love that for me. I know I've been in the ER like 3 times over the last year. That's just our healthcare system. Let's applaud that.
Oh my gosh.
But I had like a flare up about a month ago. I don't know what causes flare ups. I'm assuming like it's a hormonal fluctuation or something, but it's fucking painful. Like, the last time I had a flare up in July, I couldn't pee, I couldn't walk, I couldn't do anything. I went from like having one of the best training sessions of my life to the next day, like I wasn't able to pee. So perspective, right? Life is precious. But the reason why I talk about this is I had this flare up recently about a month ago, and I still did my shit because I know that I can. And I know, like, yeah, it's uncomfortable, it's painful, but I know that I'm safe. And I know I'm not doing anything stupid. But what I get a lot of times, and this almost pisses me off to the point where I want to like scream at my clients. And I feel like I'm a female, I can scream at them. But I get female clients who are like, oh, I have my period today. I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to work out. So I didn't work out. Or I had cramps, so I didn't work out. I'm just like, I understand to a degree. But also, there's a difference between I need a break, my body needs a break, versus I'm just looking for an excuse to not do the thing. And I think that what people need to do, instead of always looking, we'll talk about my biggest pet peeve in the world, which is people who have the all or nothing mentality, which is a lot of people.
That's the first thing I thought of too, as soon as you were saying that.
So 2 things on that I want to talk about, right? So 2 things. One, the only reason why you have an all or nothing mentality, for all of you listening who are like, oh, that's me, all or nothing, it's because you're identifying as the person who has the all or nothing mentality.
Ooh, yeah.
You see yourself as, I'm all or nothing. Cool. Well, then you're always going to be all or nothing until you shift your identity, right? Identity shift is huge. So this goes kind of hand in hand in what we're saying. If you see yourself as, I'm the person who starts the New Year's resolution, you're always going to be that person. Start to see yourself as the person who this is their lifestyle. And once you can identify with that, your habits start to kind of follow within that. And it starts to become sustainable. But also, one thing that I have my clients do here is I call it a minimum standard routine, or an MSR. So what that kind of looks like is you have 3 things every day that are very simple things. Like, I'm talking like simple, and you do them every day, even on your worst days. So simple enough where if shit hits the fan, you're still doing those things. And that's different for everybody, right? The simplest thing could be, I had 16 ounces of water when I woke up, or I had protein at every meal, or I made my bed in the morning, or I read, whatever it looks like for you. Because when you can check 3 things off, it's like, shit, today sucked, but I still got those things done. Like, today was my worst day. I didn't get to the gym. I didn't get to do all the things that I wanted to do, but I still did these things. So people, they always try to raise their ceiling to like, I'm going to train 6 days a week. I'm going to do this and that. But you should raise your floor to be like, this is my standard here. Standard, and hold the standard, you know?
That's the going back to James Clear in the Atomic Habits piece, right? He has that quote in there. It's like, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
Correct.
So you've got to build those routines and build the foundation of consistency in the, like you said. I love that, for a minimum standard routine. Oh man, and it sounds good as an acronym.
I know,
too, right?
MSR.
Like this just sounds like, hell yeah, let's go.
No, it just sounds like it's doing something.
But I love that approach, because it just gives people that, kind of that check the box mentality of like moving the ball forward. Now it's got to be minimum things that you have, some kind of a track record that is going to induce a result, right? This isn't just about like making yourself feel good, right? Like, that's important too, but you've got to it's got to be things that will actually help you move forward, right?
Right. Not like, I'm going to watch TV for 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's like, cool, I could check that off too, but that's not going to be
easy
getting me towards my goal.
Right, exactly. So, it could be like, I'm watching an educational YouTube video that gets me closer to becoming a professional at what I'm doing. But I think the biggest thing is, like, people think they need this like heroic effort. They think it's like this one big thing that's going to change their life, when it's you just need minimum standards that you never violate. Like, you have to just keep the promises that you make to yourself. And that's why that's one of the core values of the Powerhouse mentality, is that people don't reach their goals, or they continue to fail and quit, right? Because we talked about failure isn't the end, but you make it the end because you quit. Is they just keep breaking promises to themselves. They say, oh, I'm going to get up and the diet starts Monday. What happened? Oh, well, Cheryl brought fucking donuts again to work. Great. Did Cheryl force the donut down your throat? No, you made the decision to do it. So it's about,
go ahead. Finish that.
It's just about, like, if you set a commitment to yourself, keep that promise. It's like, if you tell somebody, hey, we're going to meet for coffee at noon tomorrow, I know you're going to meet with coffee because you don't want to let that person down, but you continue to let yourself down. And that's not what you deserve. And I think the reason why this happened is because in today's society, so many people have so much fucking trauma that they don't address, that they truly don't believe that they deserve anything better than what they currently give themselves. And they don't recognize it. So what they continue to do is self-sabotage every time they start to see success. Their mind sees it as a threat, because, oh no, I can't see success because I don't deserve this. You have to cut that shit. I know it's not easy, but every single day, reframe that to, no, I deserve this. I work hard. I do the stuff. Earn it. That's really what it comes down to, and prove it to yourself through action.
And so much of that, I mean, that ties back to the first thing we started talking about, right? Is having that strong, deep-seated purpose around even doing the change in the first place. Because, like, if you get to that point where you feel like you're starting to self-sabotage, you can kind of circle back to that purpose if you've gone through that exercise of like really get into that deep emotional space of like, holy crap, this is really what I'm after.
Truth.
And that can kick you out of those, self-sabotaging phases pretty quickly. If you're like, oh, wait a second, if I, damn it, Cheryl brings the donuts again, and I have that donut, right? Like, and don't get me wrong, there's a perspective and a balance here, right? Like one donut every once in a while isn't going to completely, spiral you unless you allow it to.
Correct.
Yeah, there you go. I knew you were.
I was like, oh, he's gonna say it.
Say it.
Yes.
If you allow it to spiral you, it will. But if you choose to say, hey, you know what? Today I feel like having the donut, and then I'm just going to go right back to my stuff, and it's not that big of a deal because I know I'm working towards that bigger purpose, and I'm not going to allow this to derail me, right?
Right. And that's the all or nothing mentality. Is like the person will have. That's always what happens. It's the person has the donut, and then it's like, oh well, today's fucked. So I'll have the pizza at lunch, and then I'll order in at dinner, and forget my workout, forget the protein. Like I'll just get back to it tomorrow. No, you have the donut. If you're tracking your macros, throw it into your tracking app and play what I like to call macro Tetris, and we just fit shit around it. My favorite. I'm basically a professional at macro Tetris at this point in my life. But like it happens. And I also find that the people who restrict the most, those are the people who fail the most. So I have this one client who, when she's on her shit, she's really good with her shit. Because she used to binge all the time. But instead of saying, hey, we can have this, I say, you can have it, just have it with protein, right? So she has 3 York peppermint patties, little mini ones, every single night as her like end of night sweet treat. And she fits it into her fucking macros. Now, I'm not a huge like, if it fits your macros, bro, like I don't like that because I feel like that's just everybody's excuse to eat Pop-Tarts and protein shakes. But if you're eating majority whole food and then you want to have like a little sweet treat at the end of the night that's like fitting into your calories for the day, and you're still hitting your protein, you're still getting all your micronutrients, you're covering the basics first, and that prevents you from having a binge, we're winning. Because these foods, 100%. There's nothing wrong with them, but you make it a problem by eating them so much.
Yeah. My gosh, there's 2 things that came to mind there as you were talking to that. What do you know Dave Ramsey? Financial guy?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Cool. All right. One of the things he likes to say, and I mean, obviously he says it around financial stuff, but it applies either way. He's like, there's 2 rules to perfection. It's like rule number 1 is you're not perfect. Rule number 1, nobody's perfect. And rule number 2, you're not the exception. Right? Like that everybody's gonna fail along the way. And that's okay. Then it's a matter of, do you choose to allow that to derail you? Now, the other one that's a little bit more tactical to the nutrition side, there's a nutrition coach that I follow on Instagram. And one of the things he likes to say, he says, eat what you want, add what you need. So like that example of like, hey, you got the peppermint patties, right? And you have a protein shake along with it. And again, within the context of what you're tracking towards the day, you need to be like, well, kind of going back to the financial thing, right? It's like if you had a goal to save money, right, and build wealth, you know what's a really helpful way to do that is to have a budget, because you need to understand like, how much money am I making? How much money am I spending? If you just go by like, well, I want to, save money and build wealth. I feel like I'm not spending as much money. I feel like I'm making more money. Well, but are you? Like, these are numerical things. Like we can have the answer, right? And that those numbers aren't a judgment on you as a person, but you have to face the facts of what's going on if you actually really truly want to make that change, right? Like you got to, that's where I do advocate for people tracking or learning to track for a period of time.
I think that's the best way to say it too. Yeah. The best way to say it is like learning to track, because I think that every single person should track their macros for at least 6 months. You don't have to do it for the rest of your life. You can if you'd like to. I love to track my macros because I love numbers. I love data. I love having zero doubt into what I'm doing. And I love to be able to, to be able to know what's going in my body, to know like, oh, this is how I respond to having this. So like, it's been cool. Like over the last couple months, I've been increasing my food and to see my body lean out, to see my performance get better. And it's really cool because I'm eating, to everybody who says carbs are bad for you, I'm eating like 500 carbs a day. And I'm getting leaner, so fuck you.
I'm gonna throw a middle ground in there on the carb piece. Okay, carbs are bad for you in excess of your caloric needs, right?
anything's bad for you in excess of your caloric needs. The problem why carbs are targeted is because, look, I'm going to more likely overconsume Oreos that are very high in carbs versus chicken breast. Just saying. Like, you're going to get to a point with chicken breast where you can no longer overconsume it. With Oreos, man, you can eat the whole sleeve and you're fine, but your calories are blown up out of the water. So Oreo recently came out with a 0 sugar Oreo, and I did a reel covering it, like, for the Powerhouse Journal for news. And again, here we go to TikTok. I swear, people just, but somebody commented and said, in the video, I said, the reality is sugar is never the problem. It's overconsumption of calories as a whole. The reality is, though, that the foods that have sugar are just easier to overconsume. So it's almost demonized because of the correlation thing, not the causation, right? Somebody goes, no, sugar is the problem. I am a type 2 diabetic. And I said, okay, you did not become a,
for you. Yeah.
First of all, ma'am, you became a type 2 diabetic, not because you were not just because you were eating sugar, because you were over consuming calories as a whole, period. Yeah. So she didn't respond to me. But the thing that I need you to understand, people, is that overconsumption of calories is the problem. So if you want to have sugar, have your sugar. I used to believe that fruit was bad for you because it had sugar. How silly of me, How silly when somebody says to me, I can have an apple?
Yeah.
Bruh. And you know what's funny? The people who also
day keeps the doctor away has been around for so long for a freaking reason, right?
Also, apples, they are so filling. Like, it takes you a while to eat them. They have great fiber, great nutrients. They're juicy. They're satisfying. They're great. And there's somebody who I saw on social media. And this is why I hate social media, because there's no context to it. They just like put it out for views, right? Fear mongering type thing. His entire page is he has one of those like glucose monitors that monitors his blood sugar spikes.
Gosh, don't.
Yep.
Me.
And what he does is he's like, every video is a test of a food, of him, how it shows his blood sugar spikes and falls. And he does it with like, oh, I had blueberries yesterday, and look at how high my blood sugar spiked and falled. And I looked at the comments, and somebody was like, well, I thought blueberries were good for you. I guess I can't have blueberries. And I thought to myself, first of all, it's everybody's.
That's a fail as on society as a whole.
Facts.
If somebody's walking away from that thinking, I can't eat blueberries, we all lose. We all lost.
And everybody's individualized. So what spikes my blood sugar excessively might not spike your blood sugar excessively, right? Everybody's different. Also, if you pair any food with protein and healthy fats, the blood sugar spike goes down and the blood sugar spike is less. For all we know, this man has some sort of an intolerance to blueberries, which caused his blood sugar to spike higher. And it's funny, if he probably had it with, eggs, he would have probably not had that. So there's so much context that people just see this black and white, but there's like gray areas that people need to look at and understand, like, there is not one bad food for you unless you are allergic to it, intolerant to it. Don't eat it. But if you want to eat it like a normal human, not like somebody who just blacked out and had a binge.
Kaitlyn, can I ask you another sarcastic question like I did before?
Oh, yes, of course.
If I told you that there's something that I wanted you to do that would skyrocket your blood pressure, skyrocket your heart rate, and potentially cause some damage in your joints and muscles, would you do that without any other context? Just
only if it's working out.
No, because that's exactly what I was describing was exercise. Yep. But we all know that exercise is good for you in the long term, consistently, right? And part of the reason that's like with the blood sugar spikes, and I'm not a scientist, I'm not a researcher, so I'm going off of things that I've heard from people that I trust that have helped me a ton, right? Short-term acute impacts of things versus long-term consistent chronic impacts of things are very, very different. A short-term blood sugar spike is not something to be concerned about, assuming that your blood sugar returns to a normal level within a reasonable amount of time. If your blood sugar is spiked consistently for the long term, we've got a problem and we probably need to look at some things, right? Yes. But guess what? Just about any food you eat is going to spike your blood sugar a little bit, and then it's going to come back down. And that's okay.
Yep.
Just like how exercise is going to skyrocket your heart rate and your blood pressure, and then it's going to come back down, and then you're going to be okay. But
Yep.
we all know that those things are good for you long term. So I think the best analogy that I heard. This was from the EC Sinkowski. I'll have to send you some of her stuff after this.
Yeah.
She talked about like the analogy of like a retail shop, like Best Buy, right?
Hmm.
Which is Best Buy still a thing? Is that in the
Oh yeah,
same
man.
bucket as,
We
like,
have a Best Buy
Blockbuster?
credit
Is that
card.
still-
We spend way too much money at Best Buy.
Oh hell yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were a salesperson at Best Buy, or if you were a manager of a Best Buy location or something like that, and if you're listening to this and you've worked in retail, just apply it to the place where you worked. If there was a specific item, a specific kind of TV or something like that, or whatever, or microphone, I see your microphone on screen. We'll go with that. If there was a specific kind of microphone that you didn't sell on a given day, you wouldn't just stop carrying that product completely. You would look at like, what's the overall trend? How have our sales been on that for like a 3 or 6 month window, right? To understand if that's a product you need to cut. You wouldn't do it based off of the impact of one day. You would never do that, right? Because that doesn't make sense. You don't have enough information to actually make a proper decision for the long term, right? So apply that to your nutrition. An acute blood sugar spike is not enough information to decide whether one food is good enough, is something you should or should not eat. You need to look at the long-term trend and actually connect it to the outcomes that you want. Reducing blood sugar spikes is like not an outcome you can control.
Correct. And it's not an outcome you should try to control, really. I think that it's such a nuanced thing that what people like to do in the fitness industry is that all of these very knowledgeable people, they just fight back and forth on like the dumbest things that don't impact the majority of people. But then the majority of people get sucked up into it thinking that this matters. So blood sugar is a great example of this. I see people, they'll send me stuff. I had somebody yesterday who sent me something that was like, oh man, this is a shame. I love energy drinks. And it was like a guy with fucking scrubs on, of course, because he had to wear scrubs, talking about this thing is living in your fridge and it has high fructose corn syrup. It has this and that. First of all, my energy drink is sugar-free, bro. There's no high fructose corn syrup in this shit. But he was talking about demonizing. He said, it's energy drinks and they're killing you. And I was, tell me what's in here that's killing me, because I know exactly what each ingredient is and what it does. Right? Some of them are actually clinically studied to improve your brain health, right?
Dude,
but it's because it's just fighting over all this bullshit that doesn't matter. The reality is you need to just set foundational habits. Nutrition, calories, and protein are the biggest things that matter. Most people will see phenomenal results just tracking their calories and protein. Carbs and fats, let them fall where they lie. Some people prefer more carbs. They function better on more carbs. Me. But focus on your movement, strength training 2 to 3 times a week, moving and being active on the other days. You don't have to run in order to lose weight. In fact, I would argue that running is terrible for fat loss. And then make sure you're sleeping.
If you enjoy it and you can do it consistently,
right?
Have at it. Do it.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
You want to build in some strength training, but building consistency is
and I think that's the biggest thing. Is so many people think like that's the number one thing. People think, well, I don't like running. Yeah, running burns the most calories, technically, but over time your body does adapt to it because you're giving it the same stimulus. So your body is an adaptation machine. It's meant to, this is a stressor I need to become more efficient at. So I'm going to become more efficient at calorie burn. So if you ran 3 miles today on January 1st and you ran the same 3 miles every single day, and then on February 1st, you probably burned a little bit less because your body's becoming more efficient at that activity. The best part about strength training is we're building muscle, and muscle teaches your body how to burn more calories on its own, period, end of story. So like running isn't a fantastic thing if you love it, but if you fucking hate it, don't do it. Like if you're doing it for fat loss, you can get so much more from strength training,
Kaitlyn, it's a shame that we've gotten this far into this episode so far and we haven't mentioned this, but like, guys, do CrossFit.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to like all the things that we've been talking about, it's not a ton of time, because if you go sign up in an affiliate, class times are 1 hour. You've already got built in a combination of weightlifting, of gymnastics, of cardio, of running, all these things that you can improve at, right? So if there's something you don't like, I don't necessarily advise people cherry pick workouts, but like you kind of could if you wanted to, if it's going to help you stay consistent over the long term, right? If you're like, hey, I don't like running. All right, well then if there's a day where it's like, well, today's workout is run a 5K, go row a 5K. Like you still show up, you could still freaking show up and do it. And guess what? You don't have to think of the workouts yourself. how big of a benefit is that, right? So like that's that. Okay, and I'm gonna do CrossFit. I'm going to circle back to something else you said, because this is something that I talked about a long time ago with a group of people, was like red flags on social media,
Ooh,
right?
yeah.
When to know if you're looking at something, if you're like, oh, is this going to help me or not? An easy one that I kind of look at and think of is like, if the person, well, there's like two or three things with it. One, you need to think about how you feel after you watch the thing. If you come away from the thing feeling scared or anxious, probably not helpful. If you feel like empowered, like, oh, I think I can do that, it's probably helpful. Two, if you come away feeling scared or anxious and the person then also includes, you need to buy my specific whatever the fuck, that's probably not the right thing for you, right? They're literally following marketing 101. It is brand promotion at its best, right? It's, I'm going to induce fear on you, and then I'm going to, as soon as I have you gripped in my hand with fear, now I'm going to provide you with, hey, here's a potential solution. If you're scared of this thing that you didn't even know was a thing 30 seconds ago, but you heard me talking about it because I'm in the grocery store with my shirt off. I'm not talking about a specific person.
Bro, I hate that guy.
Then, you know, if you come away with that and the person's like, ooh, but guess what? I have a solution for you, and I can't believe nobody else is talking about it, and I'm the only one. Red flag, red flag, red flag.
Oh, yeah. Okay? First of all, everything's been done. Nothing's new. Shut up, bro. Like, shut up.
At least the stuff that works, right?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Like, the basics are not sexy. The basics are not sexy, and they're hard to be. It's hard to make. Eat fruits and vegetables, eat protein, and work out consistently engaging on social media. It's tough. But you know, it can be engaging on social media. I heard about this article recently. You're eating kale the wrong way. I said, guys, eat the damn
the wrong way is eating kale, period. Kale is gross. When somebody
feel that way about pickles,
kale is not a superfood. Just saying, if so, a superfood should be or is defined as something that we could eat and not die if that's all that we ate. If you only ate kale, you would die very quickly. Red meat and eggs are the true superfoods, my friends.
But even then, just the idea of superfood. That's hold on. We're gonna. That's a whole.
First of all, that's all marketing. Look, everything's fucking marketing.
Net carbs. I did a whole presentation on net carbs. My God. That's a fucking conspiracy. If it's not, you know who by the. Gosh. Okay. If you're going to the. Sorry, I just got to say it because we're already.
No,
here.
say
if you're
it,
going
please.
to the grocery store and you look at something, you're like, oh, but it only has this many net carbs.
Flip it over.
Who trivia time? Who do you think, you know, came up with the idea of net carbs? Here's your answer. It was the Atkins people, when the Atkins diet was becoming a popular thing. You know why? Because they were advising for a low carb diet. So if I can find a way to mathematically and through some fudgery make it look like this or make it feel like this food has less carbs, guess what? More people are going to buy Atkins products. Oh my gosh, it's not even a term that's like read or accepted by any of the major nutritional organizations, you know, regardless of how you feel about them, right? So,
and that's a big pet peeve, net carbs. I get so many people who come up to me and they're like, oh, but this only has like 3 grams of net carbs. I'm like, no, flip it over and look what it has 23 grams of carbs. Your body doesn't fucking know what net carbs are. For those who need to know, net carbs is total carbs subtracted by fiber and sugar alcohols. Your body does digest those to a certain extent. So you can't just say they don't exist. They exist. They went to your body. Count it. Like, I'm sorry. Make it as simple as possible. Count it all. Don't cheat yourself. Like, that's just people looking for another reason to make it easier. Just keep it simple. Make it actually easy.
Keep it simple and follow the basics. If you hear someone on social media talking about you've got to do this 7-step morning routine or your day's not going to be optimized, move on, scroll away as fast as possible, because if you stay on it, it's going to keep coming into your algorithm, right? Like,
yes.
You have vote with your thumbs. If you see something that you're like, if somebody's trying to scare you within the first 2 seconds, scroll away as fast as possible, right?
Yep.
That's my best piece of advice for algorithm stuff. I didn't think we would get here, but here we are.
I mean, I think it's a really great place to be, because the reality is the reason why so many people don't succeed anymore. I mean, not saying that, like, social media has a huge impact on people's life. Like, people spend so much time on social media, and when they're trying to lose weight and stuff, they go to social media. What is this person saying? Well, the reality is I could find somebody who says carbs are great for you, and then the next reel could say carbs are killing you, carbs are, you know, all these bad things. There was somebody who, and maybe you've seen this, but it was kind of like a viral reel that went around where somebody had this woman on a podcast, and apparently this woman does this all the time. She's like a doctor, of course. And she said one of the most toxic.
What kind of doctor? Let me ask.
Doctor of chiropractor. I don't know, but like, I feel like it's always that.
All respect to chiropractors.
Yeah, no, but I always feel like the person who's talking about nutrition literally is like, I am a doctor for like nothing that has anything to do with nutrition. But
left-handed puppetry, yeah.
Correct. She was like, what's the most toxic food in your cabinets? And she's like, you're not going to believe this. And I was like, oh, here we go. It's almond flour. Almond flour. Geez. I was just, what? And the podcast host, this was a podcast, dear Lord. The podcast host was like, I thought this was healthy for it. It was like I'm like, did you guys actually plan this? Because this is like wonderful acting. Like, congratulations. But the almond flour is fine for you so long as you're not allergic to almonds and you don't overconsume it. It's the same. It's not toxic. We could argue that our air is toxic. We can argue that water is toxic. I did this reel a couple of years ago. I should do this again because I have more followers now. I feel like it hit harder. But where I would be like taking a food out of the cabinet and then like in the corner, a reel would come up of bananas are killing you. And it's, oh, fuck. Put my bananas back. And then I go and I get like chicken out. And it's like, chicken is doing this. And I'll put my chicken back. Well, and then I'm like, fine, I'll just get like tap water. And of course it's like, don't drink tap water. And I can't do anything then, I guess. It's like oatmeals, all these things are killing you. The reality is like, guys, focus on the basics. Don't let social media scare you. If you find that you're in this position, just don't fall into it. This is where having a coach is really helpful because you have somebody, and it has to be somebody who you trust, not somebody who fear-mongered you into buying on social media. Somebody who you trust, whether it be like, you can find people on social media. I've met people who I've coached through social media and they've been very successful and we built a relationship. But you have to like know that person is like an actual real person because there are great people on social media, but they're also 100%. Not great people. Like the people who talk in the middle of the grocery store with their shirts off. Why the fuck would you buy anything from that person? Why? Yeah. There was this one guy and he, shirt off in a Walmart. First of all, if you're in a Walmart with no shirt on, please, dear Lord, why are you even why are you trusting this man with your money? But he takes a sip of Diet Coke and he spits it out everywhere and goes, you're drinking this. It's lowering your testosterone. It's making you a fat ass. And I'm like, first of all, it's Diet Coke, bro. That is a great tool for people who are struggling with a fat loss journey. So shut the fuck up. And you just spit all over the camera. Why are you doing this? These people, like, this should be logical, but people who are in such a state where they're so desperate for change that they just want to believe anything and take any hope that they have. And it's unfortunate that these people are like being manipulated upon. But find someone who you trust, whether it be somebody in your circle, whether it be somebody that you met online who truly puts out great, valuable information and tries to educate you, not just scare you. And trust that person. Trust the journey. Ask questions, but allow them to take the reins because that's why I have two coaches. I have one who does my programming. I have one who does my nutrition and my therapy, basically. She's like my therapist. But the reason why is because we are very emotionally charged. So if I step on the scale, even being in this industry for over a decade, I step on the scale and the scale's up. Holy shit. Why? And logically, I start to spiral, right? If I was on my own, I'd be like, oh, I'll just eat less today. I'll do more cardio and it'll be fine. First of all, you're probably messing everything up because the reason why your weight was up was because you were inflamed, right? So like kind of what I was alluding to before, I've been eating more over the last couple months because my weight was like up and I just felt inflamed and like I was holding on to water. Ever since I started eating more, my weight's down and I'm holding on to less water. It's because my body was stressed. So it wasn't fat. It was stress. But what most people see is, I gained 2 pounds overnight. I need to just restrict myself. I shouldn't eat more. I'm messing everything up. And you messed everything up because you stopped doing what you were supposed to do. Spiral. So that's why it's so important to have somebody that you trust, whether it's somebody who's coaching you or whether it's somebody who you just ask questions to.
100%, right? Just anybody else that can sit there, like you said, that you trust, that understands your goals and wants to help you reach your goals, not you reach their goals, right? And also can just talk you off the ledge. Like that's a bit, before you're gonna like someone and even if it's a close friend who they might not know everything, but that can just be like let you talk it out, and then someone that can be like, hey, that kind of sounds a little ridiculous, right?
That's why I like to say everything out loud, like because I've had a really bad eating disorder, so I still struggle with those thoughts all the time, and I'll have these thoughts like you don't deserve to eat because your training sessions weren't as difficult today, right? And I'll say it out loud to myself, and then I realize, well, that sounds dumb because I'm a human, so yes, I do deserve to eat this, but also your body doesn't reset at midnight. I'm still recovering from yesterday's workout and I'm still fueling for tomorrow's workout. And that's how I look at it now. It's like my body doesn't reset at midnight. I still have to just continue to do everything. I think the best way for people to handle this is literally focus on what we spoke about, the foundations, which we talked about purpose. Why are you doing this? We spoke about setting appropriate expectations. This is going to take longer than you want it to take. It's going to take longer than you think it's going to take. And building sustainable habits, not trying to lose weight as fast as possible, not trying to get X amount of money as fast as possible, but trying to get it in such a way, if you had to, you could do it for the rest of your life.
If you're in the middle of a program, or if you're in the middle of trying something, and one of your thoughts each day is, man, I can't wait until this is over. That again, red flag, right? Maybe we could just call this episode red flags. Maybe that's the next one. It's just like, here's all the red flags.
Red flags of bullshit.
Yeah. But that's a good one. It's like, you know, and I know we were picking on 75 hard earlier. I'm going to use that one just to continue the example, right? If you're 30 days into 75 hard and you're like, man, I can't wait until this is over because of whatever reason, right? Might be time to reevaluate whether to continue or not. And that doesn't make you a failure, but that just means like, hey, is it going to serve you to actually getting towards the goal that you want, right? Like there is a difference between is it not serving me and I just feel like quitting. Those are two different things for sure, right? But if you can objectively sit back and think like, I don't think I'll be able to continue these habits afterwards. So is it worth it for me to continue this right now, considering the goals that I have and what I'm working towards? That's a good indicator of like, I need to start looking at something different, because you want to be able to come out of whatever you're doing and be able to, like we've been saying, right, just be able to keep it going, be able to sustain it over the long term, right? That I like, if people come away with anything, like you said, you're just kind of wrapping this up. If people come away from this episode as we're heading into the new year, it's like, think about the long term of where you're trying to go, and then focus on today. Well, what can I do today to get one step? Cheesy enough, right? Not cheesy. I'm sorry. But like what you say at the end of each episode.
Yeah.
It's like,
I also, you want to know how I started saying that? I panicked on one episode and I said that because I was like, I don't know how, sometimes when you're doing solo episodes, it's just like, how the fuck do I finish this? Like I got all my info out. Now I'm just talking. So I like panicked and said that. And I was like, oh, that kind of works. So I'll just say it every time. And there was one time where I like forgot to say it. And I was just like, well, everybody have a great day. And I was like, oh, Jesus.
People are like, hey, what about that thing you said?
Is it over?
I have one last kind of tangent. I screenshotted something the other day. Let me find it on my phone here really quick. This is a segment of the episode called Scrolling. Okay, here we go. Found it. So I brought up that DJ earlier, right? Fred again, and the albums that he came up with, right? So, and I was thinking about one of the songs, which actually, let me go look this up really fast. This song of his, it's one of those that came from those albums, and it's got some ridiculous number of streams. Like on Spotify, it's got almost 500 million streams.
That's
right?
crazy.
So right, and you've never heard of this person. I think that's just one of the most wild things.
Yeah, I also don't pay attention enough, I feel like, to a lot of things.
Fair enough. So this was the lyrics from one of those songs, right? Which again was just him having a conversation. Like I think it was a Zoom conversation during the pandemic, right? And the name of the song is "We've Lost Dancing," and here's the quote. So it says, "We've lost dancing. This year we've had to lose our space. We've lost dancing. We've lost the hugs with friends and people that we loved. All these things that we took for granted. But if I can live through day by day." If I can live through this next 6 months, day by day, if I can live through this, what comes next will be marvelous. And I think that's like, yeah, right. So as people are going into this new year, right, day by day, one day at a time, you've got changes that you want to make. And for goodness sake, think of the version of you 6 months from now that's sitting there at the, metaphorical finish line, that's just looking at you like, please keep fighting one more day, keep working one more day, because what happens on this side of that work, it's marvelous.
Yep.
So some of us, and I'm going to say this, and I'm kind of talking to myself, right? Some of us, and you've probably felt this too, you're 6 months away from completely changing your life.
You are.
But it takes one day at a time. And you've got to build those habits, and you've got to do it one day at a time. And just because you failed one time doesn't mean you're a failure. You pick it back up the next day and you keep working, because 6 months from now, what comes next could be marvelous.
Yep. It's something that I say a lot is, why do I do what I do? Is future Kaitlyn is counting on me. right?
Boom.
And
Yep.
I have a friend who works at First Form, and he every morning on his story he posts a picture of what his alarm says, and it says, "Will, your future family is counting on you." So when his alarm goes off, that's what pops up on his screen. So instead of hitting snooze, he's like, I got to get the fuck up. Like, my future family needs me. So I think like really truly thinking about that is so important, because you're literally you're like one or two habits away from changing everything, but you're overcomplicating the crap out of things to the point where you keep holding yourself back. So a lot of people think, well, what if it doesn't work out? What if I fail? Well, what if it does? Like, what if it does work out?
Yeah.
Like, you'll
You
never
can't
know
even
unless you
imagine.
try.
You can't even imagine the good
Correct.
that would come from what happens if you succeed. Like, holy crap, how cool is that? I just put something on my story on my personal page. It was like, there was this guy talking about, so many people make excuses to end up losing or to not do something. It's like, why don't you start making excuses of why you can win? Make excuses for yourself to win. Because
Yep.
like, why not? Right? If you're that good, if we're all good at making excuses, right?
We are.
It's just
So
a
we should
matter
use
of
it, reframe those excuses.
use it to your advantage, right? Make excuses to set yourself up to win and to make the progress that you want.
Absolutely. And it kind of goes back to what we've been alluding to the whole episode, which is a lot of this really comes down to reframing and mental gymnastics. And the way I want to kind of finish it is, if you haven't read, first of all, we've spoken about a few books here. Atomic Habits is a great one, but also the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins is phenomenal.
My wife is reading that right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's been telling me some of the clips. I'm gonna have to pick that one
it's
up
so good. But basically the premise of it is, you cannot control everybody else around you. You can't control what they do, what they say, how they think, but you can always control how you react to it. So let them do what they're going to do. But then on the flip side, let me do this. Let me take action. Let me respond this way, because I can always control how I respond, my actions, my outlook towards life, but I can't control anybody else's. So if you, for example, she likes to use this a lot, is like, if you have, because people do this all the time, they overbook themselves. They make plans where it's like, oh, I just did it because I didn't want that person to say, like, make me feel bad, right? I didn't want to let that person down. Let them be let down. Let them think a certain thing, but it didn't serve you, because it's overexhausting you. It's taking you away from things that truly move the needle or matter, or it's just you overbooked yourself, bro, and you need to chill. So let them do what they're going to do. The reality is, most of the time, they're not going to do what you think they're going to do. You're painting this story in your head. So just worry about what you can control in all of this, and that's your attitude, your effort, and your actions.
Yep. One day at a time. That's what you can control. Set your habits up to keep you moving forward. Keep building that momentum. That's beautiful. I'm gonna have to pick up that book then.
Oh yeah, bro.
I think my wife either she's almost done with it or she just finished it. So I'm gonna pick that
I have like maybe a couple chapters left, but every single time I pick it up, it's like new nugget. It's one of those books that it's just like, and every time I see that she's on a podcast, she did a podcast recently with Chris Williamson, from the Modern Wisdom. And it was great, because I love both of them, and they just like go back and forth, and you're just like, I need a notebook. But no, I think that we covered so much in this episode. I think it's a great way to start this little series that we're doing. So I'll put all of Marcus's stuff down below, the podcast, Silverback Media, all the Instagrams, and what we're going to do next month. I think the best way to do it is kind of putting up question boxes on our story to kind of see what kind of topics people like. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, I'm pretty sure you can comment down below. If you have any topics that you want us to cover, throw them in the comments. I check all them. And apparently Spotify told me to tell you guys to rate this 5 stars, because apparently it does something. So please rate this 5 stars so that 2026 can be even bigger than 2025 for the Powerhouse mentality. But Marcus, do you have any last words before we close it out?
No. First of all, go rate it 5 stars. And it, in the wise words of another podcast host that I listen to, rate it 5 stars. And if you're not going to rate it 5 stars, then I'm going to assume you're a hater. But seriously, rate it 5 stars. Comment. I hope that if you're listening to this, and if you've made it this far into this conversation, if you're listening to this, I hope you can hear the passion that Kaitlyn and I have around these topics, right? Yeah. And I think a part of it, and I'm going to speak for you, but I feel pretty confident in doing this, even though we've only talked to each other like twice before this, but whatever.
We vibe. We vibe.
It's because we understand and we've seen, not just on ourselves, but on other people, the type of change and the type of impact that making these changes can have, not just on you, but on everybody in your sphere of influence, if you want to call it that. If you've got a family, if you've got coworkers at work, whatever it is, anybody around you is going to start to see changes happening, and they're going to be like, damn, something's going on over there. What is that person doing? And this kind of stuff, it's a ripple effect, right? So like,
Yeah.
take the time, do the work, be patient, learn along the way. And just like I said before with those song lyrics, right? It's like you're 6 months away from changing your life. Like what comes on the other side of this next 6 months can be marvelous if you're willing to stick through it and learn along the way. So get after it. And also,
Hell yeah,
check
man.
out the Silverback Media podcast. Episode 23 with Kaitlyn Kenna Smith was awesome. Go check that one out and then listen to all the other ones.
Absolutely. So everybody, go out and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing with a friend. To get notified of future episodes, please follow the show on your favorite podcast app so you can continue to hear these stories. For more behind-the-scenes content of everyday CrossFitters, follow on YouTube and Instagram at Silverback Media. Until next time, this has been the Silverback Media Podcast.